We might not notice, but tremendous technology and mind-boggling science constantly surround us in the products we use every day. Behind their practical use lurk hidden histories, dramatic discoveries, and awesome experiments. They are wicked inventions. Coming up, the teddy bear, the presidential secret behind this toy's name. Plastic, the fascinating science behind this indispensable material. The ice cream cone. We reveal the cool secret behind the use of chocolate inside a coated cone, and it is not just there for taste. We reveal the surprising science and amazing manufacture behind these wicked inventions. Teddy bears have been around since the early 20th century, but just how did a cuddly toy famed throughout the world originate from a bear hunt in Mississippi?
The kind of history of teddy bears is shrouded a little bit in mystery, but one or two possible sources are quite well documented.
The teddy bear name originates from 1902 during an incident on a bear hunting trip involving Theodore Roosevelt, who was sometimes known as Teddy. Most of the hunting group he was with had already killed an animal, but Roosevelt was yet to play his part. With the aim of assisting the president, the group cornered, clubbed and tied a bear to a willow tree. They then called Roosevelt to the site, suggesting he should be the one to take its life.
Roosevelt, being a sportsman and a nature lover, refused to shoot the bear. He just didn't think it was very sportsmanlike. And this caused a bit of sensation across the US. In honour of that, an enterprising businessman by the name of Mitchum had his wife, Rose, stuff a bear, a little kind of teddy bear, and put it in the front window of her shop in Brooklyn with a sign underneath saying Teddy's Bear, and it became quite popular.
From this, Mitchum founded the Ideal Novelty and Toy Company, and the toys were an immediate success.
Around 1905, the Steiff family in Germany started to create stuffed animals, notably stuffed animals with hinged limbs, and they were all based around the son from the family's drawings and sketchings which he'd made in the zoos of Germany. So that's when you really start to see teddy bears becoming mass-produced.
However, due to poor transatlantic communication, neither Steiff or Mitchum would have known that one another were making teddies. In more recent times, teddy bears are predominantly made as toys for children, although they are also given to those of an older age to signify love, congratulations, or sympathy. The cuddly teddy bear is truly a wicked invention, but just how are they made? Merrythought, a family-run business in the south of England, have produced teddy bears using traditional methods for 4 generations.
The Merrythought Teddy Bears was founded in 1930 by my great-grandfather and is currently run by myself and my sister.
So, what's the secret to making one of these lovable creatures? The life of a cuddly teddy bear, of course, begins with its cuddly fur. These teddies have fur made from mohair, which is an extremely silky, soft yarn made from the hair of the Angora goat.
All the mohair is made for us from scratch. It's all bespoke to a particular colour and length, and we have thousands of different varieties from which we can produce thousands of different types of teddy bears.
Once the mohair has been selected, it is laid out onto a table and cut using pattern knives. These are a bit like cookie cutters.
These knives themselves are handmade from paper patterns, which are made by our design team.
These knives are laid over the fur, and a cutting press then presses down firmly, leaving the shapes for each body part of the teddy. Some designs, such as those with longer fur, have to be entirely hand-cut with scissors, meaning that this process needs a great level of experience and accuracy. Once each part has been cut to shape, they are sewn together using a sewing machine. It's very important to get this exactly right, as the finished sewn material will dictate the entire look and balance of the bear. Once all sewn together, we have something resembling separate parts of a hollow teddy bear, but it's missing something important: eyes to see.
So the head at this point is still inside out, so the seams are still on the inside, and this allows us to put the eyes in which have a particularly strong safety washer. So they're put in, there's two parts to the eye. This is done manually, each one's put in by hand.
Specific sized eyes are placed onto what is known as the eye tool and then pushed through a pre-marked out hole in the teddy bear's head. Today, plastic safety eyes are used most of the time, but some designs demand the more classic looking glass eyes, which can be very time consuming to attach. Now that our bear can finally see, the head and limbs must be turned from inside out to the right way round. This is a fairly simple process where the limbs are placed on a pole and pushed down. And there you go, our bear is now the right way round. He's still missing his super soft stuffing though. The nose of the bear is stuffed, first by hand with wood wool that will make his nose nice and firm. Once this is complete, the rest of the limbs are filled with carded polyester using a purpose-built stuffing machine.
This stuffing machine that we use was actually imported from the US in the 1950s and is probably the most modern bit of equipment we have in our factory that we use.
Each part is stuffed separately, using foot pedal controls that allow the operator to get the density of the stuffing just right.
So each of the limbs are stuffed, again by hand, and we don't have any pressure gauges or anything, it's all done by feel, depending on which particular bear we're making at the time. Some are softer than others, some are larger than others and need a bit more stuffing in them to make them more rigid.
With all the limbs stuffed, a system of pins and washers are then fitted to each of the bears and neatly hand-sewn closed. These pins will allow the bear's limbs to move and stay in position, vital for striking a pose.
So they all have movable arms and legs, which is what a traditional teddy bear should be like.
The limbs and heads are then attached to the currently unstuffed body. A measuring tool is used to make sure the arms and legs are the correct distance apart. That tummy needs some stuffing now. The bear goes back to the stuffing machine to be filled. A beanbag is usually added at this point too, giving the bear a bit of extra firmness and weight. At this point, extra accessories such as a growl box, music box or squeakers are also added. Our bear needs a voice after all. The back of the teddy is then sewn together before the nose is hand sewn. This is achieved by building up many layers of thread that will eventually form a firm nose. It's all finished off nicely by sewing in a mouth to give our bear its smile. He's almost ready now, just a few finishing touches are needed. Firstly, the bear is brushed and combed to make the bear's fur fluffy and, most importantly, cuddly. He then needs a bit of trim to tidy up the areas of fur around the eyes, nose and mouth. This is completed with small trimming scissors. At the quality control inspection, if the bears are deemed suitable, which they most often are, a ribbon is added and tied in a big bow. Some bears can even have clothes fitted at this point. Stylish. That's our bear complete. He just needs to be neatly packaged up and sent off to lucky customers the world over, ready to love and be loved by children and adults.
Within the factory, we produce hundreds of different designs and styles of teddy bears for different customers and retailers around the world. To make one of our teddy bears, it takes anything from an hour and a half up to a day for some of the really large bears, and we will produce around 20,000 teddy bears in a year.
Teddy bears, one wickedly cuddly invention. It is a term used for a family of materials that we use every day, but probably think little of. It might be a byword for cheap and disposable, but plastic is a lot more interesting than you might think.
Generally, we think of plastics as the hard plastic which we say sit on for chairs, we use for headphones, we use for car panel body parts, or you'll find in airplanes, otherwise known as essentially a hard plastic. If we add materials to the plastic, you can alter the properties of the outcome material. That is what makes plastics so useful and so versatile.
The word plastic comes from the Greek plastikos, meaning capable of being shaped and moulded. But why can we manipulate these materials so easily? It all comes down to their molecular structure. All plastics are composed of molecules called monomers that are repeated in a molecular chain called a polymer. The ability of scientists to manipulate combinations of different monomers into polymers means they can create materials with a variety of properties that can be engineered for different applications. Although the ingredients that make up plastic are organic, this family of materials are referred to as synthetic or man-made.
Now, a polymer can be meaning many things in terms of the actual end result product, but if we talk about taking an organic monomer, which is a simple building block, and then adding another organic monomer to it. And by that subtle change there, you've already made a different change into the properties of the polymer in terms of its melting point, how easy it flows, how easy it is to process. Some plastics require high temperatures before they start to melt. Some plastics require very low temperatures and they're instantly a solid. And also some ones will be effectively a plastic only at very low temperatures, and when they warm up they will melt and dissolve. And so it's these varying properties that we can deal with in terms of what you call a plastic.
Arguably, the first commercial entry into plastic development came in 1839, when Charles Goodyear accidentally stumbled on a way to stop rubber from melting in high temperatures, called vulcanization. By adding sulfur and lead to natural rubber and heating it, vulcanization took the natural rubber fibres and molecules and cross-linked them with one another, meaning the material would be more durable and wouldn't melt. A property of a compound when it melts is the molecules slide past each other. If it is cross-linked, the compound hasn't that ability and retains the stretchiness of rubber over a greater range of temperatures. However, vulcanization just adjusted the properties of an already existing material, and in 1862, the first fully man-made material was created. Called cellulose nitrate, this plastic found a wide variety of uses, including inks, wood coatings, and film stock, which was known as celluloid. It was also infamously used as a replacement for ivory billiard balls in the United States.
Cellulose nitrate, being gun cotton and being relatively shock sensitive, used in billiard balls isn't the best of things, so quite often what happened was shoot a pool ball at the right way, and the explosion, because of the two things hitting together, sounded like a gunshot in the middle of a bar where people routinely carried guns. Wasn't the best of methods, but it worked. And cellulose nitrate, despite it being explosive, was also being used for film and for making normal films, like movies, and old films are known to go up literally in smoke.
In the wake of World War I, great strides were made in the mastery of chemistry, which resulted in an explosion of new forms of synthetic or man-made plastics coming onto the market. In the 1920s and 30s, new polymers started to appear, which included names we are all familiar with today, such as polystyrene, polyethylene, and polyvinyl chloride, or what we would call PVC.
Some plastics will be very thin, light, and very flexible, so you can get a plastic bag. Some of them could be slightly harder, and depending on how you add particular chemicals in to allow them to move a bit, you can get plastic bottles of varying degrees of crinkliness and hardness, or very flexible and robustly come back to their shape, down to the very hard but also very useful things like polyvinyl chloride, which you find in guttering or you can find in hard plastic chairs. In between it, you also have plastics which you can spin like a fibre, so like cotton you can spin plastics, so you can make clothing, so you have polyesters, and there's lots of varying degrees of changes you can make to them.
One of the reasons for the cheap cost of products made from plastic is the simplicity of their manufacture. One of the most common methods is injection moulding. In injection moulding, plastic pellets are fed into a preheated barrel via a hopper, where heat, friction, and pressure slowly melts the pellets into a viscous form, where they are forced into a mould cavity. In the mould, the plastic cools and hardens to the size, shape, and configuration of the cavity. This means intricate products can be replicated quickly and in volume. So, plastics are wonder materials, but they do come with a major downside.
They're very big in terms of molecular size, which makes them very difficult to break down. Recyclable plastics are plastics that are designed to break down, and because their chemical linkages are not so strong, they will essentially degrade under normal conditions of a landfill, or they will degrade potentially even within our stomachs. Those are designed to have a shorter life, but they're also designed to be more reusable and more environmentally friendly. Otherwise, plastics can be lasting 50 to 100 years easily.
With the world using roughly 20 times more plastic than it did 50 years ago, we now need to be even more careful with how we dispose of this remarkable collection of materials. Plastic, truly a wicked invention. Can we pierce a water-filled bag with a pencil and stay dry? We're going to need a Ziploc plastic bag, some water, a bowl, and some very sharp pencils. Round size will work better than squared ones. We fill the Ziploc bag 3/4 of the way with water and seal the pouch and grab a sharp, pointy pencil. We grip the top of the bag with one hand. With our other hand, we take a pencil and push it through the bag. Look, no drips. We take another pencil and push it through both sides of the bag. Still dry. We use another pencil and another. Still the water stays in the bag. As we've seen earlier, plastics are made by combining molecules into long chains of polymers. In our plastic bag's case, think of the polyethylene molecules it is made from as long strands of cheese strings. The tip of the sharpened pencil can easily slip between and push apart the flexible strands of cheese, but the strand's flexible property helps to form a temporary seal against the edge of the pencil. When the pencil is removed, the hole in the plastic bag remains because the polyethylene molecules were pushed aside permanently and the water leaks out. Can we pierce a water-filled bag with a pencil and stay dry? Yes, we can. Wicked challenge smashed. Over the last century, we have been enjoying ice cream cones of all types. Whether it be a waffle cone, a sugar cone, or even a wafer cone, what better way to enjoy a double scoop of your favourite ice cream? However, there is little evidence to suggest who created the ice cream cone.
There is a very famous depiction from 1807, which could be one of the first etchings of someone eating ice cream, made at the Café Frascati in Paris, and you can see in one of the bottom hand corners a woman actually looking like she's licking an ice cream from a cone.
In 1896, Italo Marchionne invented a hard, moulded cup for ice cream. Marchionne was granted a patent in 1903 for multiple cup moulding apparatus. From this, there were many other smaller creations and ideas.
Now in London there was a big culture of eating ice cream. You started to get things called penny licks. So a penny lick was a small glass jar filled with ice cream which you'd lick and then hand back to the street vendor who'd clean it and refill it. Now not only is this slightly unhygienic, especially in a city where cholera is endemic, but it's also a bit impractical because it also numbered the amount of ice creams you could sell at one time.
The penny lick was banned in London in 1899 due to concerns about the spread of disease, as the glass was not always washed between customers. One of the more popular and favoured tales is the creation that was introduced at the 1904 St Louis World's Fair by Ernest A. Hamwi. Hamwi was selling a crisp, waffle-like pastry in a booth right next to an ice cream vendor. The ice cream's increasing popularity meant that they soon ran out of serving dishes, which is where Hamwi stepped in, creating a firm pastry that would hold the ice cream for customers.
So one of the biggest developments which happened for the ice cream cone was the invention of a transportable and freezable ice cream cone. Now by that I mean when you see ice creams which come pre-packaged, so like a cornetto. It was in Naples in the 60s when one inventive Italian ice cream shop owner wanted to create something which he could make in his shop in Naples but possibly sell in Bolzano or Venice, hundreds of miles away. So what they did was they created the chocolate-lined ice cream cone, and the chocolate-lined ice cream cone allowed the producer to put ice cream in, wrap it up, and the chocolate would stop it from melting or making the cone soggy. So a massive evolution and a great coup for ice cream cone makers around the world.
In 1918, Lebanese immigrant Albert George, along with other family members, brought some second-hand cone baking machines and started the George and Thomas Cone Company. Today, the company still runs, but is now known as the Joy Cone Company. Based in Pennsylvania, the company bakes over 1.5 billion cones per year to satisfy customers all over the world. But just how are they made?
I'm David George. I'm the president and CEO of Joy Cone Company, and I'm the third generation of the George family to run Joy Cone. I've been here since 1980, frankly, when I was 13 years old. The Joy Cone Company was founded in 1918, so we've been making ice cream cones for almost 100 years. We're coming up on our anniversary very soon here. And on a busy day in the summertime, we'll produce about 10 million cones in a single day. And in our whole company, in a given year, we'll make over 1.5 billion cones a year. Cones are made with a batter as opposed to a dough when you think of breads and donuts. And the main ingredients are flour, tapioca flour, water, and sugar. One of the key differences between the batters is that a sugar and waffle cone batter, we use brown sugar as opposed to white sugar in cake cones. It's a little more costly, but we feel the brown sugar gives it a sweeter taste and also gives it strength so that the cone hold up better when you're shipping them across country.
Joy-Con makes a variety of ice cream cones, but we're going to look at just 3. Sugar cones are sweet and have a strong, crisp structure. Cake cones have a lighter texture and have a flat bottom, meaning you can put down the cone without it falling over. And waffle bowls help manage portion size. The ingredients for the sugar cones and waffle bowls are mixed in the same vessel, with the batter for cake cones being made separately. The batters are then stored in cooling tanks, where it is held until the oven is ready. In the cake cone oven, a precise amount of batter is squirted into a special mould. A plug is then lowered into the mould, which forces the batter to rise up between the mould and the plug, so that when it cooks in the oven, it forms the shape of the cake cone. The moulds travel on a conveyor belt through the oven, which cooks the cones for exactly 90 seconds at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. At the end, the mould opens up to allow the cone to drop out into a trimming machine, which cuts off any excess and means all the cones have a uniform shape. These trimmed cones can then be stacked and moved to the cooling area, where a worker inspects the cones for any damages or imperfections. If they pass, they are loaded onto a cooling wheel. Next, the cones are coated in molten chocolate in a machine called an unrober. On the other side, the coated cones are placed on a conveyor belt, which takes them through the packaging machine. Sugar cones are made by squirting the batter onto a plate. These are baked for between 60 and 90 seconds, then the plates open up so the patty can be dragged out.
The patty is actually baked perfectly flat. It makes one revolution, and when it comes out, it's very warm and malleable, so it can go into a spinner, and it spins the patty around into the shape of a cone.
This forces the round patty into the cone shape. The roller machine then opens up and the cone falls down into the stacking machine. Stacks of 6 are sent to a worker who checks them for quality before they're laid on a conveyor and taken to the packaging machine. Waffle bowls are baked just like the sugar cones. However, the patty is then placed over a bowl press. A plug comes down and bends the patty into the shape of a bowl, holding it there to fix its position. The waffle bowl is then pushed out of the press and taken away to be checked, stacked and wrapped in a layer of plastic corrugate for protection. In the packaging process, a plastic film encases the cones as a sealed layer of protection. To prevent the likelihood of any form of contamination, the cones then travel through a metal detector before being placed by either a machine or by a hand into boxes. A laser will burn the date and product code onto the boxes, then they are placed onto a pallet and shrink wrapped. The wrapped pallets are finally taken into a warehouse for storage, ready to be shipped to consumers. The ice cream cone, truly a wicked invention. So, there you have it, a dash through the hidden history, super science and amazing manufacture of products that you use every day but have never realised their amazing backgrounds. The teddy bear, plastic and ice cream cones, all wicked inventions.